And life happens and a whole lot of things, but we give God all the praise because He is the giver of life. And so today on the program, on a sad note, we come to announce to you that the co-producer of the program, I Wish I Knew Radio Drama, who is a staff with the Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, Emanuela Ikomon, we lost her on Wednesday. Oh yes. We've had this is a hit below the belt, and this is just our own way of honoring her. I am really, really, really trying to hold my tears because this is somebody who made the work easy for all of us. The country director, Mr. James Ikape, has really honestly been inconsolable on the matter. Anne Abok, our director, and everyone at Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, we have lost a rare gem. We've lost Emanuela. There's none that can ever be like Emanuela. So we're just going to take a moment, and before we get into the program today, just a minute's silence for Emanuela Ikomon. And we pray that may her soul and the souls of all our beloved departed rest in perfect peace with the Lord. All right, and so we actually had arranged this program with her on Tuesday evening, and we had discussed what to do on Wednesday, which is to focus on one very important matter when it comes to human trafficking, which is the issue of child trafficking. And now today, we skipped the radio drama to do this and just honor Emanuela because this is something she was very particular about. And I'm going to read a few stories for us on human trafficking, and then after that, we are getting into the discussion proper. Now, the trending stories on human trafficking, this one is, let me quickly read the other ones. A few days ago, there was a national celebration, which is the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons 2024. And also in line with that, Bishop Kuka backed NACTAL's fight against human trafficking in Nigeria. And so these are some of the stories. But then the story that caught my attention today and we will be looking at is this particular story. And the story reads, let me read the headline: NIS intercepts baby and 3 other suspected victims of human trafficking in Lagos. Now listen to this. The Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, Lagos Border Patrol Command at Seme in Badagry has intercepted a 6-month-old baby and 3 others children suspected to be victims of human trafficking. The controller, Peter Adache, the controller of the command, who disclosed this while speaking with newsmen in Badagry on Friday, said the victims were intercepted with their traffickers, and the traffickers were a couple. Adache said the victims were intercepted by operatives on Monday around 1:30 p.m. along Kankon Awonde Road in Badagry. According to the controller, they were traveling to Burkina Faso through the Republic of Benin without any relevant documents. None of them was in possession of any travel documents when they were intercepted at the Owode border, he said. And he also said during interrogation, it was revealed that one of the suspected traffickers, who is a food vendor and citizen of Burkina Faso, now listen, lured the victims to travel with her to the country. Okay? And why they followed her, according to the other victims, they followed her because she promised to give them a job and good salary. And she called her husband, who is a citizen of Benin Republic, and they arranged how to transport the children to Burkina Faso. Traveling expenses and feeding for the 6 persons were paid by the couple, he said. Okay? So this is, and let me just I'm skipping some parts. And he said that, of course, the victims have been handed over to the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and to help you reunite with their families. Now, I said that to get into the next point, which we are so glad to be associated and be partnering with NAPTIP on this particular project, which is the I Wish I Knew radio drama and program. And also, we are glad that this project is being funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark. And so we're so glad. And thank you to Eagles FM for doing this. Now, what we were discussing during the week before this sad incident, and the big question is, how do children even know if they are trafficked? How do they know that this is, I am about to be trafficked? What are the signs of child trafficking? What is even child trafficking in the first place? Now, let me quickly read something for us here, and I would love to hear from you today. If you have any idea at all, on how young people are lured, how children are lured to becoming child or trafficked children. Now, child trafficking is the illegal practice of recruiting, transporting, and harboring children for purposes such as forced labor, sexual exploitation, or other forms of abuse. Okay? And this often involves deceit and coercion and can occur within or across national borders. Did the story I read, did it sound like what we are talking about? Yes, I think it did. And so I was able to interview a young people, a few children, and I want to hear from you as a listener. What are some of those signs? How can you see a child and know that this child is a victim of trafficking? But before we get into that, listen to these voices. These are young people below the ages of 18 giving their opinion. And for some, they don't really know, which is good feedback for us, and for some, they have an idea of what it is. Please listen. Hello, everyone. So I'm here with a very beautiful young lady, and I'm asking her a question on child trafficking. What is your name?
Dorcas.
What do you know about child trafficking?
It's someone who deceive you, like he's coming to see your mother or your father, or he's coming to give you biscuit tomorrow.
Okay. Have you ever heard of where somebody lies to children that they will take them to a big school, maybe in another city?
No.
Okay. So sometimes there are children that people will come and lie to them that they're taking them to a big city, then they'll carry them and go and sell them. Then they'll become slaves. So what would you tell those kind of bad people?
They should repent and ask for forgiveness from God.
All right, so we're having technical issues with some of the interviews, but then as soon as they're ready, we're going to try and play those. But then this is one child's opinion on what child trafficking is. And so what is your thoughts as a listener? What do you think child trafficking is, and what can be done about it? That is the question we are asking our listener today. What are those things that we would see and then know that a child is a victim of child trafficking? Now, I have some notes here that I have already written, but then if you want to lend your voice on these issues, have you ever met a child that has been trafficked, or what are some of those signs that you know that this child is a victim of trafficking? You can send me your text messages and your WhatsApp messages on 090 9705 4450. 090 9705 4450. What are the signs that a child is being trafficked? How do you know a trafficked child? You can also call me on 090 8766 8888. That is 090 9766 8888 or 090 7353 0044. 090 7353 0044 or 090 8766 8888. Now, there are ways that you can actually know signs that could possibly show that a child is a victim of trafficking, and we're going to look a little into that. Now, a child that is being trafficked, sometimes you might know that this child was in school all through, okay, and then all of a sudden the child begins to get absent in school, and you're wondering what happened to this child. A sudden change in behavior of the child, signs of physical abuse. So sometimes this is a very bold child, and all of a sudden you notice that the child is withdrawn. So once you notice there is a withdrawal, you know that these are possible signs. There are other things, but these are possible signs. We're not saying it is definite, but if you notice this, it could be a sign that this child is trafficked. Okay? Sometimes you notice signs of, physical signs of abuse. Now, if you remember from the definition, we talked about coercion, and sometimes when you're forcing somebody to do something, you would use some kind of force, right? So you notice that maybe the child has injuries around the body and things like that. It could show you that this child is a trafficked child. One of the things, again, that you could see is when a lack of personal belongings. Okay, you don't really understand. What is this one? He has some items that don't belong to them. Maybe he's a child in your community, and you notice certain things. Okay, or the child doesn't have, the necessary things that they should have. They look very unkempt and all of that. It could be a sign of a trafficked child. Maybe you notice the child in your community for the first time, and then you notice all of these things. It could be that the child was trafficked to your community or from your community as well. What are some of those things that we need to look at as well? If the child, they can be under the control of someone who doesn't seem to be a parent or a guardian. Sometimes there are children we see with some certain adults in public places, and you notice the way this person is treating the child. You know that a responsible parent will not treat a child in that manner. It is possible that this child is not that person's child. It is possible this is a trafficked child. Okay? So these are some of those signs. Okay? They might seem fearful. Like I said, they might seem withdrawn as well. And, have very few people living around them. If you see these children, you wonder what is wrong. And sometimes it is good for you, if you can, let it be your concern to ask this child, if you have the opportunity, ask this child, what is the problem? Have you seen any children like that around you? Please share it with us. And did you take any steps towards it? You can share with us on 090 7353 0044 or 090 8766 8888. Now, if you want to share your text messages on if you've seen a child with any of these signs that I have mentioned, maybe you saw them in a particular place, even if you didn't do anything, but maybe from this side now, your eyes are now open to the possibility that that child was trafficked. You can send me a text message or a WhatsApp message. And feel free not to mention your name. On this program, we have such considerations. So if you want to remain anonymous, the most important thing is for us to get the accurate information and to find help for the victims and to expose the perpetrators as well. If you want to send a text message or a WhatsApp message, you can do that on 090 9705 4450. What are your thoughts on human trafficking? I will take a short break and I'll be right back.
Smile for me.
Hello, good morning. Are you there? All right, so you two can lend a voice on if you've met or seen these signs on any child anywhere. Please let us know. And were there anything, or did you do anything about it to try to help that child so that other people will learn from it as well? 090 9705 4450. That is for text messages and for WhatsApp messages. And you can call me on 09087. Wish I Knew radio drama and program right here on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. And today we are looking at child trafficking. How do you know that this child is being trafficked? and what can be done about it. Now, we have this one. What makes children vulnerable? And I'm going to share with us in just a moment what makes children vulnerable. How do we know? How do we get to that point that a child is actually vulnerable to becoming a victim of trafficking? Now, in the society we are in right now, a whole lot is going on, and we don't even need to re-emphasize on that one. Now, in an economically disadvantaged community, possibly, let me add, like Nigeria, a child could become a victim. There are times where the parents are not really doing well, and sometimes the child is at a very young age exposed to trying to help their families, trying to, just make sure that things go well and all of that. And in trying to look for that at their young age, they could become victims of trafficking. Because as they go out trying to get help, trying to, just make sure that daddy and mommy eats, or maybe, they are raised by a single parent, and they're trying to just make sure that their parents, they try to just bring something home. They could actually become vulnerable to becoming victims, because the offer usually would come like, you're going to save